Hello, everyone. How are you today? Good. Great. My name is Sebastien Borget. I'm the COO and co-founder at The Sandbox. It's my first time here in Austin and at Southwest by West, and I love the creativity, the vibrant energy at every corner of that city. Meeting with artists, with musicians, etc. I really find all of that really inspiring. And I hope to be sharing with you today during this hour where I will be presenting a little bit more about the Metaverse and some of the top considerations for brands to enter the space, as well as spend some time with Q&A. We can submit your question via the Slido app. So, how many of you are already familiar or heard about the Metaverse? Raise your hand. Great. I feel like we're almost into it. But now, how many of you are actually confused as well about what the Metaverse truly is? Whoa, almost as many. All right, so we'll try to address this in today's presentation by showing some concrete examples of brands that enter the sandbox, showing some videos, and hopefully inspire you so yourself can see how you can as well enter the Metaverse. And I'd like to start by showing you the first video of the Sandbox Alpha Season 2, which is live right now. So you can actually enter, go and play into the sandbox, create your avatar, participate into 35 experiences, including multiplayer hubs, content made by the community, playing and completing quests, fighting against enemies, exploring, games, community content, huge worlds, collecting and completing, acquiring more experiences, earning rewards, discovering new content made by others and seeing it come to life. Listen to music from artists, such as Blondish, Snoop Dogg, play as Snoop, the Metaverse has so much to offer, and we're just getting started. Thank you. And again, you can go and play and try it right now to think about yourself. So, all right, that's a great video. I hope you liked it, but still doesn't answer concretely what is the Metaverse. Some of them, like we're seeing reports from Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, that present the Metaverse as this next massive technology revolution that will shape the future of retail, of commerce, and define an industry where more than $5 trillion will be spent across various thematics, industries like real estate, education, restaurant, car, vehicle, gaming, apparel, fashion, music, concert, dating, relationship, etc. Sounds exciting, right? But you don't want to miss that. So you still need to get a sense of how do I participate into this? How me, my brand, my company, my IP, my fans can actually connect to that. We try at The Sandbox to provide an answers to this question, and our approach is by contributing to build what is the open Metaverse. So we believe the Metaverse is actually this myriad of virtual worlds where any one of us can access, through an avatar, a 3D representation of ourselves, all sorts of activities and experience which will be more engaging, more fun, more social, more immersive. That's great, but at the beginning, it's all empty. Yes, the Metaverse has to be built, and it will be built, we believe, through user-generated content, meaning you, me, anyone should be able to participate and become a creator in the Metaverse. So we provide tools, a 3D editor called VoxEdit, a game maker with no code. We'll get into it later. which makes content creation as accessible as possible. So then the metaverse can take life, can take shape, and you can see all those experiences, all those content that we'll be able to engage with. Besides user-generated content, there should be as well space for culture, space for brands. And we believe brands are going to bridge the gap between the physical world and the virtual world. Imagine this, you're this avatar, you enter a world, and you only see content that, well, you're not yet familiar with. You've lost all your different check marks, and then suddenly you can see a land that features Walking Dead, Gucci, Atari, Warner Music Group, Ubisoft, and other brands you're already familiar with. The very first thing you're going to do with your avatar, and many others, most likely as you do, will be to enter the space, and that will trigger your very first social relationship in the metaverse. But let's go one step beyond. Again, thinking about user-generated content, we believe that brands should open themselves and allow their community, allow their fans, allow people to use the content, official content, digital asset as NFT, to create their own to let the users create experiences, build games, build adventures, and anything they want, and publish it as well into the metaverse. What kind of experience is going to be? Those are, we believe, a new format of entertainment where users can actually truly own their asset, can build, can play, can meet, can socialize, can actually even earn a revenue and potentially turn it into their next job. Indeed, we're building the sandbox over blockchain technology, which is an open technology, transparent, trustful, and we contributed to some of those standards here so that users can actually truly own their digital identity, truly own their digital asset, truly own their currencies, and move them from one world to another. Hence, really this idea of creating an open metaverse where you as a user and all your content are actually not locked into one platform, which is acting as a closed walled garden, preventing you to transfer your content, your avatar, from one to another. And as such, now we see that digital asset can actually hold value, can be transferred to other users, can be sold on marketplaces. We're seeing the birth of a new digital economy with asset of value, with jobs, and we believe hence into this fourth revolution where all the content can be exchanged, valued. Users can actually participate even in the governance of those worlds by owning the assets that compose it. Talking about jobs, I believe millions of jobs will be created thanks to the metaverse, and those jobs will range from creator jobs such as architects, house designers, fashion designers, game designers, level designers, to also people who will be in charge of content discovery. Imagine you entering a world, someone will be here to welcome you and basically make each experience very unique. Also like community management, tour guide, people in charge of curating contents inside those worlds and outside. We're going to see new businesses born in the metaverse, such as virtual real estate agents, people who are going to help sell those digital content, discover it. Community-related jobs as well, around like NFT ticket selling, dating planner, event organizer, wedding. However, how about jobs fair? Why not? And also, and that's new, turning play into an actual job where you can turn your playtime into a revenue stream through collecting items which now have value, reselling them, or participating into guilds, etc. Here are some numbers about Sandbox. We're still very early on, but we're focusing on building content and showcasing the possibilities. We're now counting 2.2 million wallets, meaning users who own their identity and their currencies. We have a little bit more than 20,000 unique landowners, which makes us one of the largest in distribution and most decentralized of decentralized virtual world. And we're progressively building that world together, involving the community, involving many brands. Something additional as well is we care a lot about like sharing and actually empowering the creators and the players. So through the Sandbox Foundation, any revenue that actually goes into Sandbox, 50% of it is directly reinvested to support creators, artists, players, investors, and as well making various initiatives that we will be describing afterwards, such as our Creator Fund, our Accelerator and Launchpad program, and some grants we give to the ecosystem. Here is a quick overview of the marketplace. So we have already thousands of artists who are making 3D assets, 3D content, that then game creators, experience creators, builders are actually using to build the first experiences and soon publish it into our world. I mentioned it's a virtual world. So that's something, that's the first thing that everyone is seeing when they are entering Sandbox. I find it quite interesting to think of like the metaverse through a vision of a 2D map where you can own a piece of it, where any brand can own a piece of it and put their logo, and where communities are expanding around through this notion of neighborhood. And the Sandbox has a finite number of lands, 166, 464. It's a square of 408 by 408, and that's it. So the Sandbox world is actually finite, and you'll see why it matters afterwards. You might wonder, like, what is a land first? A land is a digital piece of real estate where users can actually publish any kind of experiences and monetize them through the use of NFTs and tokens. So you actually can own that piece of the metaverse and use it yourself for various business models, including publishing your content, renting it to other creators, and more. And we've got more than 200 major brands who already entered the metaverse by owning land into Sandbox. Here you can see Snoop Dogg, you can see Warner Music, you can see Ubisoft, Adidas, just a few of them. And this concept of neighborhood combined to this idea of like digital scarcity, of ownership, truly owning your location, has led some people to actually value land and becoming the neighbor of some of their favorite brands, favorite celebrities, really strongly. So we can see here someone paid $450,000 to become Snoop Dogg neighbor in the metaverse and have this experience next to his mansion. But there's more, and we've seen the largest transaction to date in Sandbox is actually someone purchasing a land of 24 by 24, the largest size available, for more than $4.5 million. So again, you might be wondering, like, why is someone going as far as spending this amount of money to build experiences that and become one of the pioneers entering this world? He might be crazy, right? I don't think so, and this is one of the questions we're going to answer today. The current value of Sandbox map is now exceeding $2 billion. And you see, among all those brands, it's already a great diversity of content, from gaming brands with Atari, Square Enix, Ubisoft, from brands that are native to Web3 and crypto, music artists, deadmau, Snoop Dogg, Steve Aoki, lifestyle and fashion, Adidas, Gucci with Gucci Vault, and many more, both from the West, but also from Asia, with entertainment brands from Korea, from Japan, from China. And I believe like land is this new representation in the metaverse that essentially enable anyone to be more creative, more imaginative, and is valuable. Think about it, like we're going to spend more and more time into virtual worlds. Maybe starting 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, it's going to represent a more important part of our time, whether we are working, we are playing, or we are engaging with all various activities. And building content, building experiences into a virtual world is actually much faster than in the physical world. You can create amazing content that goes beyond your imagination in a matter of, what, hours, days at most. In the physical world, it's going to take you months, years maybe, to build those location experiences. You get access to a global audience instantly. So we're already seeing brands having access to users from Korea, from Japan, as well from the West. And you finally can build things that go beyond the laws of physics, beyond your imagination. You can create new business model, and you can engage fans, users through that. I think that just that is already an amazing opportunity, and I want to show you all those creative possibilities behind. I was mentioning Sandbox as a finite world. The metaverse is going to be an infinite myriad of worlds. So there will be an infinite supply of lands, including inside virtual worlds. Some of them might have like a finite supply. Some of them might have an infinite supply of land. Sandbox shows to have like a finite one. And we believe we are becoming like the Manhattan of the metaverse, a place where everyone wants to live, everyone wants to work, everyone wants to play, to interact, to socialize, because you will find there some of the coolest communities, some of the coolest brands, some of the coolest things to do with your avatars and with your friends. Let's talk about creativity. How do we enable people to be more creative in the metaverse? We built various tools so that, again, making them as accessible as possible, so anyone, non-professional individuals could become creators, starting with VoxEdit, which is this 3D voxel-based editor, where you can make content and also animate it and publish it on a marketplace. Why voxels? Voxels, you can see it almost like digital Legos. It's very simple. Nobody needs to read a user manual to actually be able to build. And yet, it's also very powerful. So you can have like talented artists, and there's a fantastic community of artists using this software already that allows you to create content and have like both like simple on one side and on the other side like almost masterpieces of art that can be valuable and people will be proud to put into their experiences. And then you can play with that content. You can give it to life and play it as well, which is also something unique. The marketplace, I think we're all familiar with what a marketplace is. We buy physical product into marketplaces already, etc. What's new here is like the content can be bought not only on Sandbox Marketplace, but on any marketplace that supports NFTs and blockchain, which essentially provide access to more discovery, more liquidity of those content, and allows those creators to earn 100% of the revenue from the content they sell. Yes, 100%. I don't know any other platform where when a creator puts something for sale, he actually just gets that amount of value. And finally, the Game Maker, it's the last tool we released, which allows, again, creators, individuals, teams, professional and non-professional, to create games just by drag and dropping content. It offers already a great number of features, so you can build your own like quests, fights, and other activities, which we're going to see, so that you can begin offering like engaging content, engaging experiences for your audience, but you'll see it enabled many more things as well with this tool. Imagination. I told you like we're all going to enter the metaverse through an avatar. And you should be able to choose your identity as you enter the metaverse. You should be able to decide which thing, human or non-human, your avatar can be as you enter this virtual world. So it can be this creator, or this can be this guy, or those guys. You have total freedom of like picking up your identity, the way people will see you, and customizing it customizing your representation with many options in terms of like skins, outfits, as well as equipment and wearable, which also opens towards after like a greater side of the economy. You can have one or multiple identities, and I think like really the avatar is going to be the mainstream entry point for anyone in the metaverse. If you ask your grandma, if you ask your mother, etc., the first thing they should know, like, how do I enter this? You need to create your avatar. That's it. Once you've done that, you get access to so many experiences. You can even be Snoop Dogg if you want. Actually, you can play right now, today, as Snoop Dogg into Sandbox. You can even be Snoop Dogg in Gucci, having like collaboration among brands. And this one is actually a unique character, so only one person in the world who owns that character can own that identity, which is also something we believe strongly valuable to define who you are and how you're going to enter the space. And going one step further, you can take that identity and use it across other virtual worlds, decentralized virtual worlds. For example, this is called interoperability. And for example, we're taking any existing NFT, such as this Bored Ape, which is like this golden monkey with laser eyes. It's very popular as a 2D profile picture. We're turning it into a 3D character that then you can play with, interact with in Sandbox. And what's interesting, it's an NFT that was not made in Sandbox. It actually came from outside, and which we enable to have more use cases, more utility into our virtual world, and we hope other decentralized virtual world will also offer this kind of interoperability for assets, for your digital assets. In terms of opportunities, let's take a closer look at what we can do in the metaverse right now today, and where we are looking at in the future. So you can already engage, socialize, chat, dance with other users into multiplayer hubs. You can visit art galleries and museums. You can actually party with other people into nightclubs and listen to exclusive music. You can attend virtual concerts with some of your favorite artists who are some of the first entering the metaverse. You can even have your own house and invite your friends to your birthday party or more. You can play adventure game as a single player or multiplayer. You can complete quests, explore large worlds. You can play into parkour and obstacle games, and also explore beyond gaming, museums, art galleries, fashion shows, comedy shows, etc. In a nutshell, you can already do in the metaverse a lot of like the activities we're doing in real life, but augmented in terms of creativities and possibilities. And our tools, we thought a lot of features that our creation tool could make. We've been amazed by what the community came up with in terms of like breaking out the tools, mixing things and publishing their own more experiences to enlarge those possibilities. So there's one thing at the core of the metaverse, again, is UGC. Like the creativity you will find from user-generated content will always exceed the expectation from the tool we're making. And that's what makes this so exciting, because any one of us can push further the limits of what is going to be the space where we're going to socialize, interact, play, and so much more. Now, I'd like to talk about 5 key pillars of, so little break. Hope you got a little bit better sense of the possibilities right now. I'd like to also share with you, based on our experience, what we think are some of the 5 key pillars for any brand, any celebrity, any content creator, anyone actually, to enter the metaverse. The first one, and maybe if there's only one thing you should take away from this presentation, is to think how you enter the metaverse, not as a space where you're going to sell more, not as a space necessarily for retail or e-commerce. That might come later, but as a space where you actually give value to your fans, to your community, to your loyal users. And you do that by asking yourself that very simple question: what do my fan wants from me and they cannot do in the real world? So you can offer them community access pass to exclusive experiences that bring them together, closer to you, and get them to interact with your brand, with yourself, based on ask some question, have some new interaction, live together some key moments, memorable moments. You can maybe also engage and offer them free content over time to reward them for the time they are going to spend next to you. And I'd like to illustrate you with the example of Snoop Dogg, how he has succeeded to give more value to his fans. So when we started to talk with Snoop Dogg as a celebrity, right during COVID, he found that there's one thing that he's built, it's amazing, it's called a compound. It's a large space with his mansion and a lot of great things we are going to see. And unfortunately, so few of his fans around the world will be able to come visit it and interact with it. So the first thing he wanted us to create was to recreate his compound, even augmented, and allow his fans to come there, to connect with him in it, to discover his mansion, to discover his garage, and do more things. He also wanted to offer a possibility to anyone to become his neighbor and create experiences to expand around his universe, which he could play, he could explore, and do more. He also, and I think it's interesting, we've seen Snoop into some games before, like Grand Theft Auto, and that was actually something the players quite liked. So he said, look, I like to enable anyone to play as myself into any experience they like, and offer them access to a virtual concert, one of my first virtual concerts I'll be doing into this house, and enable them to receive over time, if they hold my concert pass, more and more content so they continue to engage and we can have a closer relationship together. So we created with him what's called the Snoopverse, which includes his parking, his private pool, the venue for concerts, his place featuring his neighbors, his house, of course, and his avatar store, where we created a unique collection of 10,000 ready playable characters based on his 25 years of musical history that we sold successfully, and now more than 7,000 people uniquely own and played starting today. They come with extra music, dance, etc. as well, and all the holders of those avatars will actually get even more benefits. The second tip I'd like to give you today is also to consider rewards people who are going to spend time with you into your land, or even create content together with you. This is the play or earn business model. It's a new business model where instead of having users actually come here and try to make them spend on your digital asset, you actually want to give them instead. And you can give them in the form of exclusive digital asset, collectible, game items, avatars, or tokens that will reward them for their creativity or the time they spend on the platform. So we designed a system called the Seasons, which essentially is engaging your fans, engaging the users to participate in 20 to 30 days long series of events, where every day we're progressively revealing new experiences on the map. And if you come as a user and you spend time. You complete the quest, you chat with others, you dance, there's each experience having different goals. You accumulate experiences and you get closer towards receiving rewards. So you can also engage not only into the virtual world itself, but also across many other, in a transmedia fashion, you can also engage across social media, across online websites, your profiles, and of course, in-game. So you complete quest, you spend time, you play, essentially, you have fun, you socialize with others, you chat and more. You accumulate that experience, you level up your avatar, and you get closer, like in any gaming system with a battle pass, to earn more and more rewards, so that the more engaged you are, the more and spend time with, within the season of the brand or the IP, the more you can earn actually tokens in form of NFTs and more. Also, and we're going to see that after, you'll be rewarded as a creator. My third recommendation is to start embracing the NFT culture. The NFT culture is not about just coming, selling a digital asset, making maybe some revenue and being gone. It's all about like thinking how you enable your fans, your community to actually benefit from the ownership of those digital assets over a long term. So you should envision NFTs as a new medium that carries our own distribution and that we're going to connect members from a community and provide various benefits to their holders. But you should also embrace the idea that you're entering a space which now, since it's been 4 years now, or more or less, that NFTs have been in place, as already existing codes, as already existing leading communities, and where those communities represent value for people, which are now known for being creative and having various activities and engagements. If you're not familiar with what an NFT is, here's a brief definition. Essentially, any kind of digital asset can be an NFT. The benefit of having this digital asset represented over a blockchain are essentially the following. You can finally have true digital ownership from a proof of record on a public ledger. The proof of authorship, who actually made that content, can be proven. The digital scarcity, which is like provided by this trustful environment, since no one actually owns that blockchain, no private single company can modify the data or hide it, it's fully transparent and public. And that, finally, and I believe the most important benefit from using that technology is interoperability, as we've seen before. And that's still very early on right now in the space of interoperability, but I believe like the possibilities behind are really going to pave the way around like how all our digital assets, how our identity will expand across various multiple world and decentralized applications. And here are some examples of brands which I believe have done a great job at embracing the NFT culture. Here is Adidas. The way that Adidas Originals entered the space was actually to partner with existing leading community, leading collectors, and designing content using the codes, the aesthetic of what the existing NFT communities would value. And they brought in from there their existing audience to become intern NFT holders and progressively embrace the benefit of the technology through acquiring cool digital content, rewarding as well the people who engage with one of their real-world physical activity as the first holders, and offering new digital assets that hopefully we'll all see very soon that have real utility in virtual world. The second brand, more recently, which I think is doing a great job, is Gucci. They also started to open a space in Sandbox called the Gucci Vault Land, which is a space for launching artists in the space. And like allowing them to be discovered by their broader community. Additionally, and that's just a few days ago, they announced creating this first 10,000 collection of content. So actually 10,000 is becoming the new standard in terms of community size and content size of NFTs that are using and reskinning in a very original manner existing collection of NFTs. Some of them you might be familiar, such as the Bored Ape, such as World of Woman, or Puggy Penguin, or Cool Cat. If you haven't seen Cool Cat, they have like an amazing floor activation here in Austin, which I really recommend you to go check out. And ultimately, even if you're not yet familiar with all those NFT collection I mentioned, etc., that's not an issue. Just keep in mind that as you enter the space, you want to be open to collaborate with others and to enable creators, users to access a world which will be mixing, remixing, mashing up all your content with as well other brands, etc., becoming this kind, as you can see on this image, this place, this magical place where other users are going to interact, where at any corner they can find your IP together with another IP, a creative content, a content made by a community, a content made by an artist, and more. And that's what we've done in Sandbox. The first thing you see as you enter with your avatar is you get actually to discover new artists, new talent, new communities, both from like people or communities you were not familiar with, just right next to some of the brands, the most popular brand you're already familiar with. My fourth recommendation would be to encourage user-generated content. I think it's something not a lot of brands are actually doing right now to enable their users, their fans, to take their content in the form of NFTs and encourage them to actually create more experiences, more diversified content that they can actually promote, feature, and potentially even host on their own land. So co-creation actually is something really interesting. It's a topic that we are really pushing for through game jams. So game jams, if you're not familiar, they are like video game competitions, time limited, so you give them just maybe 24 hours, a weekend, or at Sandbox we work for a month to give people enough time to actually take content and build their own experiences with the creation tools, and then participate into this competition where there will be actually a jury composed from people from the brand, a ceremony where some of the best, most creative, more diverse, more original content will actually be rated and will receive prizes, quite significant prizes as well, because we want to reward people for that extra effort that they went through. And ultimately, even if you didn't win at one of those game jams, you actually learn new skills, valuable skills that actually can turn into a job into the metaverse. And if I take the example of The Walking Dead, which we launched last summer, we launched a game jam with them around November, and we had literally thousands of submissions made by just anyone from around the world. We involved the team from The Walking Dead, and what they saw is like they were more than happy surprised. They were like amazed by the quality of the content made by the community, which they even said was on par with what like AAA game studios are capable of. So really taking on what and letting anyone remix, create experiences with your brand is actually beneficial, not just for your brand, but for the users as well, who can then like feel like you're really opening up and allowing them to participate into co-creating exciting content that anyone can engage with in this world. And some brands, such as here, SM Entertainment, which is one of the largest Korean K-pop label, went as far as launching this concept of play to create. So the idea here is they want anyone to be a creator into their space. And that's maybe my last 5 tip for today. Unleash your creativity. Go beyond what you would normally do. Do not try to bring what you have into the physical world into the virtual world. The metaverse should not be a copy of our physical world. If you have existing physical product, great. But you do not necessarily need to make a virtual copy of them as you enter the metaverse. You want to rethink that. You want to think like, what are some of the true value of my brand? How will people see my brand over the next 10 years? In a sense, like, how can I take this as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves and potentially touch a new generation of users, those Gen Z and more, that are going to be some of the very first adopters in the space. Some of them are already like using crypto, using NFTs in a very natural manner, and they are adopting like wearables, avatars from top fashion brand, from top lifestyle brand in ways that you wouldn't find in the real world. And that's maybe my main takeaway, like those experiences should go beyond imagination because finally, technology enables us to make things that go beyond our imagination. So all in all, it should be this extension of real-world experiences in various spaces, fashion, apparel, art, museum, shopping, social, automotive, why not, video games, sport. And I'd like to share with you some concrete examples made by creators, brands, community who decided to enter Sandbox and which think are great. In this first video, this is a real-world architect, a duo of real-world architects who decided to totally transform their job and only focus into designing virtual houses from now on. This house, dream house, I don't know how many of us could actually afford this kind of house in the real world, but in the metaverse, there's no constraint of space around, so we can actually have that place. It's a place where you can have fun, when you can party, you can invite your friends and start expanding around the kind of events and more you want to do. We're seeing more and more of those digital architects launching various architecture projects. We're also seeing creators, fashion creators launching fashion shows. And those fashion outfits can be used way beyond the first place where they were imagined for. They can be used into like adventure games and so on. We're also seeing like culture and education as one of the pillars in the metaverse. And this example, I think it's quite interesting. This is an experience that's been built by a team in Hong Kong, one of the first builders called Index Game, supported by the South China Morning Post, which has been one of the very first media entering the metaverse. They recreated an historic version of Hong Kong Central Ferry Pier and reproduce some of the both historical events and make users learn through some of those key events of Hong Kong history, traveling through time and discover and learning in a more interactive manner. Who doesn't know the rabbits? Well, they have also invaded the metaverse. And for the first time ever, Ubisoft will enable anyone to make their own user-generated content games with the rabbits. I find it's pretty cool, and as you can see on this teaser, again, it takes some of the code of the local culture of NFTs. And here we're seeing Dungeon Siege by Square Enix, which is an IP, like a long time IP, like many traditional gamers have been known, that for the first time, again, is going to come into Sandbox, both with an official version built by our teams, but also embracing the idea of user-generated content, allowing fans to make their own dungeons, their own fights, and more. After gaming, after architecture, after fashion, we are now seeing music, with artists launching their virtual concert or performing into virtual clubs and creating new exclusive songs which they are performing for the very first time into those places. So again, it's still very early days here, but I believe like the future of music, the future of like how artists will reveal their new song, their new creation, will be into virtual world. And why? Because it is social. It's a place where they can do that while connecting directly with their fans, and each of their fans can actually get to engage with them and live a unique experience. Whereas like watching music clips or listening, we all are passively listening or watching the same content. And there's surprising things in the metaverse as well. I believe we should be surprised at every corner of the map. In every land is a new adventure that awaits you. So there are creators in our community. This is a French video game studio which is doing Otome game. Otome, if you're familiar, those are like narrative dating simulation, very popular, started in Japan and now becoming like a global phenomenon. So we want you to feel and see like there's such already a great diversity of content, things you wouldn't expect that already can happen in the metaverse, so that it can attract more diversified audiences. It can be more inclusive for everyone. Sports as well is definitely a category where we have a lot of like brands and partners, such as here the Korean Soccer League, which I think have done a great job at taking sport and sport fandom for what it truly is. Usually when we are fans of athletes, of clubs, of teams, we express that fandom by like cheering up together, sharing the moment together, not just by watching the field, but also outside at the pub, on the stadium, having makeups, making aulas together, etc. And this is what the metaverse allows us to do with not just fans from the local country, but from anywhere in the world. And sports is global as well, so we are seeing teams from any countries having their own ways to interpret sport and sport fandom, and such as here the studio from Brazil, Hermit Crab, which has reinvented some ways to engage and play together around various sports. And maybe one last example would be this dream festival called Mystical Festival, made by this team of Japanese artists, which I have no words to describe other than it inspires me. I want to be there. I want to spend time there and just admire all this art, all these beautiful things moving in a Zen way. All right, but so the metaverse is going to be as good as the content that it features. And we know that we cannot succeed in building the metaverse without you, without all the builders, without growing an ecosystem. That's why we want anyone who decides to join and build in the metaverse to be successful. We've launched various initiatives. We've supported more than 55 studios to date, including studios from Hong Kong, from Korea, from Vietnam, from United Kingdom, from France, all which just 6 months, 8 months ago, they were like single, individual, 1-2 people team. Some, they lost their job because of the pandemic. They found about Sandbox, they entered. And now, today, they are like teams, entrepreneur with teams with 10 to 20 people, 40 people for the largest one. Some of them have been already raising funds. Some of them have been working with some of the largest brands in the world or top landowners. So there's really, at this moment, a lot of opportunities for people who are joining and starting to use and learn those skills needed to participate and create in the metaverse. And we're going beyond. We're going beyond supporting the creators by also supporting the entrepreneur. So we launched an accelerator program in partnership with Brink, where we have this $50 million fund, which will be allocated to 100 startups with check size around $150,000 to $250,000. Last week, we also gave a $25 million grant over 5 years to World of Women, which is one of the leading community in the space. It's a collection of 10,000 women NFT. Each one is unique. And they have gathered a great creative community with both like famous celebrity, artists, creators. With the World of Women Foundation, their aim is like to promote more diversity and inclusivity of women in Web3, in blockchain, in NFTs, and hopefully the metaverse. And we want to trust them into how to best use those funds to create opportunities for those persons who are going to engage and learn those skills. And we're going also with our foundation, reinvesting 50% of any revenue stream we receive in Sandbox to support building content and engaging in a way or another into creating into the metaverse. That's it. I have roughly 6 minutes 40 for questions. So I hope that was comprehensive. You get a little bit a good sense of what it is. And yes, by the way, we're hiring, we're growing, and we're helping you to start your own companies as well. So one way or another, you should be entering the metaverse, and we hope to facilitate that. Thank you. All right, so let's take some question on Slido here from the top. Do you consider other metaverse peers or competitor? And what separates Sandbox from others? So we see Sandbox as one of the parts of the open metaverse. There are other decentralized virtual worlds, such as Decentraland, Somnium Space, Crypto Voxel, etc. And we actually we encourage creation of new virtual world. We want to have like more interoperability, more connection with them. So I think it's great to have a great variety of virtual world. When you think about it, the definition of the metaverse is really that myriad of virtual world. If there was just only one, there's no meaning of being decentralized. So it's important for us. And Sandbox would differentiate from others, basically. We chose to be more gaming-oriented, offering new form of engagement and activities and experiences. You have to download this game client to start, whereas some other are more focused on like events, parties. Some are like web-based, some are VR-based. Each one has different interest and ways to attract users and their audiences, which I think is also great to build more diversity. What is your own business model as you not charge for software usage? That's right, all the tools we created, they are free. They can be used for Sandbox, but they can also be used for creating content for anything else. The business model of Sandbox is actually to really empower players and creators to sell their content. And anytime there is a transaction, whether it's a primary sale or a secondary sale, meaning between two users, we collect a 5% royalty fees. So as users exchange between each other the content, n times, we collect 5% each time, almost like a VAT. But the interesting part is, as a platform, as we work to provide more utility and more value to those existing digital assets, the value of them might increase, and as such, our royalties might increase as well. So we are more incentivized to increase the value of existing assets that are scarce, that are limited, rather than try to launch all the time new assets, new content. How do you think your platform contributes to transform global economy, making it fair? All right, that's a great question. I could talk for hours on that topic, but I have just 3 minutes left, so let's try to be short. Think about it, like you're answering, first of all, like the notion of identity in the metaverse, it all starts with an avatar. An avatar that you choose how you want to create, how it looks, or he or she looks like, how others are going to perceive you. Whereas in the real world, you actually have a lot of things that you inherit from your parents, the country you're born, the education you receive, the social situation of your parent. Those are things that are not in your control, and yet that might define for the rest of your life your opportunities to access jobs, to access education, etc. This is, in fact, very unfair. In the metaverse, anyone can choose who they want to be, and they can be perceived by others only on how they look and how they contribute to create value for the community. As a creator, as a player, as a community manager, as a host, all those jobs that we described before. So I believe like through the metaverse and through the avatar, your new identity, people can really value you based on yourself, the one you choose to be, and on the real elements you bring. And there's no more differentiation of salaries or compensation based on which country you're from. So anyone gets paid based on real value, and that gives more equal chances to anyone, no matter their country of origin, no matter their ethnicity, no matter their education, actually, since a lot of the skills in the metaverse are actually not skills you will learn at schools, but skills you will learn by practicing and being part of this world and those communities. When you say metaverse interoperability, that doesn't mean that you can take an asset from Sandbox to Roblox, right? Well, I think we should ask that question to Roblox and see what they will do about that. All right, one more question, maybe two. If brands can create more metaverses, then how can Sandbox prevent a devaluation of digital land value? I believe that, as I was mentioning before, we see Sandbox somehow as the Manhattan of the metaverse. It's one cool place where all people want to be because we provide cool brand, cool place, cool social hub, cool games, etc. So there is going to be always this renewal of content, this place where new people are coming and connecting with each other. And ultimately, as long as we have that capacity to bring cool content over time, which is supported by the foundation, which we invest 50% to support creators, brands, and more to come, that will keep sustaining. And we're already seeing that in the real world. Like, why do people keep coming to more of like the metropolis rather than like live on the countryside? Is because they find more opportunity for jobs. They find more opportunity to connect socially with others. And it doesn't mean that brands cannot have their own world separately from that. That's actually very possible and even more encouraged, why not? But it also means that we are, and we hope to remain, a place where you can have fun, interact, and maybe my closing word would be, thanks for listening today. I invite you to create your avatar, try out Sandbox, and I hopefully see you in the metaverse.